Hey folks, and welcome to Typology, the show in which we explore the mystery of the human personality through the lens of the Enneagram. Man, we're really excited to have you here with us today. We've got a fun couple on with us today, Kim and Penn Holderness. They're the authors of the book, Everybody Fights, So Why Not Get Better at It? Kim says, we fight a lot, like a lot more than your average couple on a sitcom, and we want to help teach you how to turn your recurring fights into useful conversations that will help your relationships thrive. So we go into rules of engagement and all the different things that they've learned. And of course, we do it through the lens of the Enneagram. Penn is a 7 and Kim is a 1, but this is helpful for all of you. You're going to enjoy this conversation. They are a hoot. We have a lot of fun on this show, and it is loaded with insights. That's it for me, Anthony Skinner. Super happy to have you here. And now, without any further ado, here is the host of our show, Ian Cron.
Penn and Kim Holderness, welcome to Typology.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm so excited about your new book, Everybody Fights, So Why Not Get Better at It? It's a super title, man. Yeah. And I can't wait to jump into hearing about the relationship between an Enneagram 7, the enthusiast, and an Enneagram 1, so you think.
Allegedly.
We've been talking about this all week.
This has dominated our week. You have no idea.
Well, you've taken the test like 3 times and you've gotten 3 different results.
Anyway, we're going to get into this, but I have been anxiously awaiting this podcast because I need you, to just diagnose me. But this has just dominated our entire week.
I'm just here for the popcorn.
Yeah.
But you think, what were the other numbers you keep coming up as?
We took it first during like a marriage course thing we did. And I think I got like a 2 and with a 7 or something. And then I took it again.
Aren't you a 4?
Then I was a 4.
Yeah.
And when I announced that I was a 4, everybody in the room was like, oh, no, you're not. No, that's wrong. And then when it came back as a 1, and our producer, we've only started like shooting in person again, and everybody's in a mask. And so I said, a 1, a perfectionist. And and she's the sweetest. Her eyes got real big, and then she kind of slouched in her chair. And then he went and
here's what I did. They were talking, and I was like,
and he went and found some curtains, and he like hid behind the curtains. I'm like, I am not a perfectionist. And they all just started hiding. And I'm like, I've never heard that word or identified that with that word. Then I started reading, and I was like, I thought it was my anxiety because I have diagnosed anxiety. So I thought that these were all like traits of my anxiety, but it is, I think it's all one big soup of Enneagram 1.
All right. Well, we'll find out. You could also have multiple personality disorder.
True. Yeah, that makes marriage more fun.
She's all those numbers. That's going to be a fascinating interview. We really need to get someone on who has that, who suffers from MPD, because that way we can actually get all 9 types.
That's right.
In one shot. In one show. It'd be fantastic. All right. Talk to me a little bit about the dynamic of a 7 and 1 marriage. And that may actually also tell me a little bit about, Kim, what your type might be.
Well, I mean, we can start by saying, like, I am not like a super student of, like, I read the report of what, all 40 pages of the report of what a 7 is. I don't know if if part of a 7's trait is not to want to read the full report, but I did go through most of it. Our relationship it's good. It's gotten better at learning how to communicate and fight with each other from the book that we wrote. It was born out of a friendship, and we genuinely like being around each other so much that we started to work together, and then learned all kinds of new things about each other and had to adjust the way that we worked with each other. Having said all of that, when I took the Enneagram test and it said, don't talk about stuff going on at work, there's that instruction on the top of it. Like, don't talk about stuff going on at work, or like something now, try to make this a general statement about yourself in person. I don't know how to separate those things anymore. Like our life and our work are almost the same thing now. But we've learned how to communicate, and we've learned how to be honest around each other to the point that I do think that we help each other out, even though we are very different in the way that we go about things.
I think that we are, the blessing is that we're both really self-aware. I've read all the self-help books. I'm fascinated by Enneagram or any tool, quite honestly, that can help a person identify their strengths and their weaknesses and how to make those turn those weaknesses, like how to work with those and identify those. And I'm fascinated with it, and with a partner, to know what his strengths and triggers are, and what his weak points are, and then how to best communicate. So I know that, and I know he's a huge extrovert, and I think it works because he's the reason we have fun in our house. I'm the reason bills get paid, and I'm the reason that, there are groceries available to my family. So I think the balance of our personalities is actually one of the reasons our marriage is so good. But his willingness, when we wrote this book with our marriage counselor, because every marriage hits a rough patch, but I think like the willingness, and part of it was like learning, like, this is what he needs to recharge. This is what I need to recharge. And learning that was really valuable. Okay.
All right. So Penn, you're an enthusiast. Yes, an enthusiast may have trouble getting through a whole report. They would kind of go digging through for the highlights.
That's what I did. Yeah, and thank God your report had lots of shiny, things.
A lot of colors. A lot of colors.
And then you might get distracted and go do something else pretty quickly. Kim, did you read it all the way through?
I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like that you described yourself, we would have said, when I was doing therapy, I would have said, oh, you're the meat and potatoes parent, and Penn's the dessert.
1,000%. Yeah. Right. I think my kids are going to remember from me as a mother is me just saying, eat your food, because he has them like laughing, choking on their potatoes. And then I'm like, we just eat, please. Will somebody eat? Because I know if they don't eat, they're going to be in a bad mood later. Yeah, that's 100% it.
Having said that, there are some things, and we've kind of contracted out certain responsibilities, and like homework, which can be a bit of a bear. Like there's certain things.
What do you mean contracted out?
I'm saying like I help her with the homework.
Oh.
Yeah. Like there's a contract between us. Like, Penn,
right.
You're going to do the homework.
Yeah.
Like I just can't handle that, and you have to be a little bit stern when that happens. I think there's that dynamic where if there's something one person simply just cannot do or doesn't want to do anymore, you've got to kind of step up and help out with them.
Yeah.
But on the balance, she keeps stuff going for sure.
So let me just describe to you a little bit of what maybe a pretty healthy 7-1 marriage is like, and maybe you tell me if it sounds like you.
Okay.
How's that? All right. So as a 7, right, you bring a lot of vision to the marriage. Lots and lots of ideas, sometimes an overwhelming number of ideas, right? And you are enthusiastic about all of those ideas. And Kim, if you're a 1, you kind of bring the pragmatic side to all those ideas. It's a little bit like you are more of the string, and Penn would be more of the kite.
It's fascinating you say that. And this is why I think at one point it was something else. I am the crazy vision boards everywhere. I have 1,000 ideas, and we laugh. He's like the duck hunter, like the.
Hang on, but here's the thing: are you talking about life, or are you talking about work?
Oh, so that's
because I am more pragmatic at work. But I was trying to follow the instructions on the Enneagram. Like, I do have lots of ideas. I say, let's go do this. I say,
you're right. You're right. So life. You are definitely more that role, 100%. And I am get to the airport early. Yeah. On life, but that's the challenge, right? But in business, I am like, let's, write a Broadway show. And he's like, well, that takes a lot of time. Is that the best use of our time? So that is fascinating. Yeah.
What's curious though, is that, when a 1 is healthy, they begin to act or appear to be a lot like a healthy 7. And when a 7 is under stress, they start to look like a little bit of a not so healthy 1.
Yeah, that's me. That's me at work. You just said me at work. Like I when I get powered with too many tasks, like I need to, and this part of this is my ADHD brain. I need to finish one thing up, then I can move on to the next, because my executive functioning is just crap. That's just what my brain is made of.
Right.
So that's crazy, because I do become okay, this is all going to garbage. I need everyone to leave me alone. I need to get this done. This is like step A, step B. I'll be upstairs if you need me.
Right. And so when that 7 gets under stress, they can also, like my son's a 7, so I kind of know how this rolls. They can kind of take the moral high ground and become a little bit like critical, a little judgmental, a little bit like I need to go organize my sock drawer, and they get a little. They can become a little finger waggy, if they're not careful when they're in that pressure space. But when a 1 is in a good space, it's like suddenly, they start drinking that extra margarita.
The party's on.
The party is on. Their hair comes down, and they're like, "Woo!"
Yeah.
And they start acting more like a 7. I bet the two of you on vacation have a ball, right?
I'm glad you said that. So Hawaii, we took our family to Hawaii.
Right.
I didn't even recognize this woman. It was,
it's classic.
I mean, I love her already, but I super loved her on vacation.
I think we should move to Hawaii. Yeah.
And again, the life pen says yes. Life pen says yes to that.
It is funny because it's fat, and you're the first person to ever point that out, that like I just assumed who I am in real life is who I am at work, but who I'm at work is different than who I am in real life. It's blurry because I'm sitting where my son usually plays video games, and this is where I work all day. And then like our job now is so super weird, and it's to make videos about our life. So there's this really blurry, fuzzy line.
And it's not just for us anymore. It's for everybody.
Right.
Right. Because we're all
like
all
work and life is
time.
all one big like soup. So I think in work, I'm more of a 7, but in real life, I'm more of a 1. Yeah. So that's why it's so super blurry.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. I mean, that's a great observation that I have not heard somebody mention, given the new reality that we're in. Mm-hmm. But the human personality is adaptive, right? It doesn't, it's never static. It's not like, oh, I'm a 1 in everything. It's like, right. And the other thing is with the Enneagram is you actually are all 9 numbers. I mean, you contain all 9 types. It's just that you're dominant in one. Right? So, that's why you see all those lines flying around. That's the fluidity of the dynamism of the system, right? And that's what kind of makes it cool is it's like, oh, I see. So when I'm under stress, I act like this. And when I'm doing great, I act like that. And, it's, that's like part of the juice of the thing that makes it really work in a great way, and why I like it as much as I do. All right. So, Kim, let me ask you a question. Would you say that you have a pretty strong need to like perfect yourself, improve yourself, others, and the world pretty much a lot of the time?
Maybe. I feel like
if you're not watching this show on YouTube, you need to get on YouTube and watch it, because Penn's face is answering all the questions right now. Okay. Getting to you in a moment, Penn. Kim, continue.
I always want to be the best version of myself for me, for my partner, for my family. So hence the endless self-help books. Mm-hmm. And I'm really dedicated to like my nutrition practices so I can feel my best.
Very disciplined.
I'm very disciplined. In most cases, right? Yeah, I'm very disciplined.
Yeah, 100%.
Let me give it some.
I have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I do also feel like there's so much in the world. Like I feel overwhelmed sometimes by all the things that I'm not doing to help the world. Like there's so much to do. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so much, like it gets a little overwhelming. Yeah.
And that creates anxiety for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple words. You tell me if you resonate with them. And Penn, you chime in. Conscientious.
Yeah. You chime in on whether she's conscientious?
Yes.
Yes, she's very conscientious.
Okay. Highly detail-oriented.
Yes, extremely highly detail-oriented.
Most times, yes.
Most times.
She wanted to make sure and add that detail at the end.
That's right.
That's right. Exactly.
Exactly right.
Pointing out what just happened.
I really suck at paperwork. Paperwork's my kryptonite. Like, you know, all the forms you have to fill out to send your kid to camp?
Right.
Like, that will end me. But other than that, yes.
Okay. Very responsible.
Yes.
And you've already said this, and this is a big one trait. Very concerned with self-improvement.
Yes. And honestly, I read that report and I'm like, oh, yes, that's it was listed there. I'm like, that's what it is, that I'm just always, there's not been a version of myself where I'm like, you nailed it, go relax. I'm like, nope, got to get better. Yeah.
Hey everybody, one of the lessons I've learned over the years is that not everybody benefits from a traditional 50-minute counseling session. And this is why some people can go to couples therapy or personal counseling for a long time and never really get anywhere. This is why I'm such a believer of intensive counseling and my friends at Restoring the Soul in Colorado, created by my longtime friend Michael Cusick to help couples or individuals experience deep change in half-day blocks over 1 or 2 weeks. Now listen, if you can't wait months or years to get to the bottom of an issue or to experience breakthrough, you need to get in touch with my friend Michael and his extraordinary team of counselors at Restoring the Soul. If you're looking to get out of the rut you're in, but can't wait months or years, call Restoring the Soul today for a free consultation with Michael's staff. Call 303-932-9777 and learn how their intensive counseling process can help you. As a special bonus, just for Typology listeners, make sure to visit www.restoringthesoul.com/typology to download their PDF called 5 Ways Unaddressed Trauma May Be Derailing Your Relationships. Do you have a very strong inner critic?
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. She already hinted at that.
Yeah. Can it be punishing?
Aren't all of I didn't realize that people weren't mean to themselves inside their own head.
That is so one.
Yeah.
More ones have said that to me. They're like, wait a minute, you don't have that inner critic? And I'm like, not for long stretches of time. I mean, maybe.
You don't hate yourself all the time. No, I don't hate myself, but like my face is like.
So here's what happened as soon as she got the result that said perfectionist. She was like, what? and then like she was hate reading the report. Like, wow, I'm going to get through this and figure out what's going on here. But as she got through it, she started realizing like, wait a minute, this word doesn't mean what I thought it meant. And there's a bunch of these things that are probably true.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I put out really mediocre crap on the internet all the time. How am I a perfectionist?
Okay, now I'm just going to jump in.
Hold on, Penn, please. If you don't, I will.
That's our little outward facing thing. It's like, hey, we're on the internet. Like, let's just put it out there and see what happens. Look at us. We're so random. We work super hard on these videos.
But there are times like that I'm like, that could have been better, but whatever, just like get it up, So that's where I heard perfectionist. I was like, no, I'm not. We put out mediocre things all the time. And yeah, but there's more to it.
You're filling in the lines for the Enneagram 1 very well.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, you really are.
I've like really been enjoying doing this on a Skype, like Anthony. I've been reading him. Like, he's enjoying all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here for your pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks.
I get to watch.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's talk about this book. Tell me about it. I love this line from it. We fight a lot, like a lot, more than your average couple on a sitcom.
Well, it's accurate. Like I said, we live and work together. So we're kind of in the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours category times a lot. Like we're experts in being around each other. And because we're so different and because we see the world so differently and because we're so self-aware, we kind of get it out in the open pretty quickly. And so we say nice things about each other a lot. We are passionate with each other a lot, but we also fight a lot.
I felt that it was so important to write this particular book because everybody fights. We believe fighting can be a love language. And by the way, we have like rules of engagement, right? So there's not like cussing, spitting, punching each other type of fights. But I feel like once you get through that, you know your partner so much better. And we used to really suck at fighting. I'll say that. Like, I would just be like, fine. And then like slam the door and leave, because that was my MO, just like pull the ripcord. And he was just like the endless pleaser and just wanted to apologize instantly. And we never got through anything. And we had the same fights over and over again. We went to therapy for all this stuff. And
we also found out we had a bunch of fights that were happening through silence, just by not talking about them, like the stonewalling of issues. And we found out that was like, we had a few of those, but that's a huge problem for other couples as well.
Yeah. So we're hoping and praying that this book helps. I mean, even if it just helped one couple see that this is completely normal, and that there's a path and there's some magic words you can use to really diffuse situations and to get the most out of your relationship. So we're hoping that it helps people.
That's fantastic. What can happen sometimes in a 7-1 relationship? The 7 can be a teaser, kind of tease the 1. And sometimes the 1 can get into this sort of cycle of, and this is going to sound hard, but the Enneagram kind of reveals hard stuff, right? The 1 can kind of go into this sort of cycle of seriousness, and sometimes can get a little condescending. The 7 can get a little too lighthearted and teasing, and that can lead to kind of hurt feelings between the 7 and the 1.
Yeah. Are you talking about mansplaining, Ian, or is this something different? Like, what kind of is it, or is it like this kind of teasing? Or is it like
we had a fight recently where I did not mispronounce the name of a rapper. I said Busta Rhymes, and he thought I said Buster Rhymes. And it was not part of the story. I was like, oh, like that, in this playlist, Busta Rhymes. He's like, did you say Buster? I was like, no, I didn't. And he would not let go of it. And he thought it was so funny that I would mispronounce the name of this artist. And so, but I was like, for the love. And he thought it was the funniest thing, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. So that was one of our most recent annoying fights. Yeah. So there was a 7 and a 1 right there.
Yeah.
So teasing, you did that was it. Yes.
Yeah.
That can become, so one of the things that's really great about the Enneagram is I think it's one of the best marriage tools around.
I can see it.
I wish someone had given my wife and I the Enneagram when we were doing premarital work. Mm-hmm. Like it completely changed the way that we communicated with each other. Completely.
So but I feel like you almost need a guide to take you through it. That's one thing I will say about it. Like you've already explained a lot of things that we couldn't really figure out in the report just by, like, you take a test and then you see the results and then you have 1,000 follow-up questions, and you kind of need that to get there. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So thank God for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, for example, like another 1-7 thing would be, Kim, you spot a problem, you want to address it. And sometimes, Ben, if you're a typical 7, you don't generally like emotionally or psychological painful feelings for too long.
Keep going. I'm tracking. I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Right. And so, Kim's going to come to you and go, we need to figure this out. And you're going to be, yeah, okay. And then it's like the jokes start coming.
Reflecting with humor. Got it. Keep going.
Right.
Yep. Doing it right now.
Yeah. You start making farts with your armpit while she's trying to say something she's nodding her head, right? I mean, so 7s typically, here's like the unconscious motivation of a 7. The 7 is a person who has a need to avoid emotionally and psychologically distressing feelings by constantly thinking about a future filled with fun and new escapades and adventures and naked skydiving and a new exotic restaurant. And boy, we could do this, and we could go to Hawaii. And when we go there with the kids, we're going to go parasailing without our, and on and on. Now, the 1 would be saying, yes, but remember, we have to watch our budget because we can't be spending all that money on the ski nautique for 7 days.
For those of you not watching, Kim and Penn are nodding their heads.
Yeah, but I don't want to say anything because this is better than a tarot card. This is really accurate.
The meter's running, and it's 500
an
hour.
I'm a never nude. I would never do naked skydiving, but other than that, yes.
If anyone watches Arrested Development, I am a never nude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm just saying that the 7 well, actually, the 7 looks very confident, but if you scratch the surface of a 7, there's actually a lot of anxiety underneath all that. And part of it is 7s do not want to stay in the present moment. They are always thinking about the future, always thinking about, always planning and thinking about the future. And in a way, you actually said it earlier, Penn, that they have monkey mind. It's this racing thoughts, and they're coming at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's very hard. Like 7s are just like popcorn is going off, and streamers. It's like there's just a lot of fun around 7s.
There.
So I have a question about, because everything you're saying is right, but there's one little kind of difference. I do think all of this is true. Like I have some anxiety like beneath the surface. I don't deal well with physical and psychological pain. I deflect with humor all the time. I try to stay positive as much as I can.
Yes.
I have crippling sadness every couple of months. We call it our menstruation time, where I'm just like super down, and I just like, I let it all kind of goes out, and then I get back to being bubbly. I think about the future all the time, but it's for me. I don't like saying it out loud. In fact, like when I talk to her about the future, and maybe you can diagnose me for this, I'm hoping for and wishing for and dreaming of in my head being president of the flipping United States or something, which used to be a glamorous thing. I don't know if it is anymore.
Is
but
that,
like that was
okay? We'll talk about that later, because that's not.
No, I'm not going to do it. But like being the best version of myself and being awesome. But I don't like doing the 5-year plan. I don't like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? It just, I think to me, I know you say you want to look in the future, but for me, I want to celebrate and enjoy and suck every bit of juice out of our current success, so that we're not constantly looking toward the future. So does that take me off the 7 line?
No, not necessarily. Everybody's different, right? And it might require more reflection on your part, because sometimes you get the Enneagram type and you're like, oh, I definitely am not like that. And then 3 weeks later, you're in the middle of doing something and you'll go, oh my gosh, there it is. Yeah. It's like, because sometimes, remember, we're so close to ourselves, we can't see ourselves. And it, once you sort of begin to develop that constant, not habit, but discipline of doing self-observation, then you begin to see things that, might be part of your type that you initially didn't identify with, right? Like, so what you were just describing is pretty 7-ish, right? You were, 7s don't like 5-year plans because they like options. They like escape plans. They always,
well, bad, yeah.
Right? It's always like, well, if I commit to that,
I'm locked
what
in.
if something else comes up that I want to do and it's not part of the plan? Like,
or I think his big thing is, if in business, trying to make even a 1-year goal. We had like a 1-year goal meeting. He didn't want to do that because he's like, well, what if we don't get there? I'll be disappointed. Whereas I'm like,
here it is. Disappointment is the worst form of psychological pain I can possibly describe.
But
it is the worst.
But if we don't, if we set our goal here and we get here, I'm like, cool, okay, we got real close.
I want to set my goal here and like go away and celebrate. Yeah,
right.
Lower standards.
Yeah. Right. So the thing with 7s is they're all about anticipation. Like they love anticipating the vacation, but when they get there, it's hard for that thing to live up to that. And so then they start thinking about the next vacation, or next week we're going to do this.
I have an awesome time at vacations.
You know what?
I forgot what a vacation looked like.
I know, but he says he literally will be in the rental car and he'll turn around and be like, okay, everybody, let's lower our expectations. He's like, let's just assume something horrible is going to happen. And when it doesn't, it'll be great. I'm like,
the kids love it because we talk about all the things that can go wrong, and it gets kind of funny. It's also sort of funny.
But I'm just going to, one last question for you, and then I'm going to head over to you, Kim, and talk about 1s. But so for you, Penn, are you a person, like when you were a kid, and were you the kind of kid that everybody said, boy, for Penn, every day is a snow day? Yes. Like, it's just, I get out of bed, and you're very sunny, very optimistic. You always saw the silver lining, even in the worst of circumstances, right? And maybe you were the kid who brought to the family or to the class the clownish kind of side. You were always the one that was kind of behind the fun. Does that sound like you a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely I had a lot of energy, and people did tell me that I seemed very happy and good natured. Like I went back and read. It's funny because we had to take my parents to a skilled nursing unit, and so we, when you clean out your parents' house, you find all kinds of crazy stuff, and one of them was a report card from 4th grade. And you don't remember what you were like in 4th grade, right? Like that's a bit holy.
Well, I went to Catholic school, so I blocked all that out.
Right, exactly.
Trauma-based material right there.
But the words like energy, enthusiasm, and positivity were all over the report card. And that was great to see and to hear, because I wasn't feeling energetic or positive when I was cleaning out the house. And it was like a reminder that, oh yeah, that guy's in there somewhere.
Kim, does Penn do what we call reframing, which is if something bad happens, he can suddenly just turn it on its head and make it a positive?
Yes. I will say that. So he brought up his parents. So we'll share, like, both of his parents have Alzheimer's dementia. So that's a mind thing that happens to a child to have. And he's in his 40s, so he's relatively young to have parents going through this. So yesterday was the first time in a year that we've seen them. So we were able to do an outdoor visit for the first time in a year, and they've declined a lot over the past year. And neither one of them are verbal. And we were sitting there, and it was really hard. And we're walking to the car, and he's like, "Okay, well, we got to go pick up the kids, and we got to go. It's fine. It is what it is. It's fine. Okay, what are we going to get for dinner?" Like
then we also had a plan that we're going to bring our guitar next time.
Yeah, and he's like, next time we'll make it about music, because they can sing, because you can sing and not speak. He's like, we're going to sing next time, and it'll be great. It'll be fun, lots of fun. And it was like, and then we were done. And so he not only reframed it as something like next time it's going to be fun, but then like could move on. And whereas I was needing to like sit in the moment and to hold hands and really just like feel it. He was like, he does not feel value in feeling sad. He doesn't find value in that.
Right.
So,
and that's a very 7 feature.
Yeah.
So, Penn, just now when Kim was talking, you went from sort of an animated face to a sad face, which is understandable given the topic. I mean, I understand that. But what's that like for you when you go there?
It's not comfortable. It's I usually like to be by myself. I only recently, like in my entire life, found someone that I could be sad around, and it's Kim. And we weren't even great at that when we first got started. I don't think, in the manual, a lot of people they'll fall in love, they'll get to know each other, they'll get married, they'll go on their honeymoon before ever really having a chance to be sad together. So it sucks. It's uncomfortable. And it's so uncomfortable that I feel people looking at me and wondering if there's something wrong with me. And that makes me feel sad because I don't want to harsh their buzz.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability on that, because I think that's a struggle for lots of 7s, is this sort of experience of, boy, people have these expectations of me to be the caffeinated person at the party, and to be the guy who has champagne running through his veins. And there's this kind of feeling like, oh, I've sort of lost touch with my identity here if I have to go to this other place. And 7s, unlike other types, tend to worry in a way that if I go into this sad place, will I ever come out? Like, that spooks me. If I really start to cry, will I ever stop? With this, and they hate feelings like stuck. Like stuck is a bad place for a 7, or like I said, looking for ways to reframe negatives into positives, because just sitting with the negative is too hard for too long. Right. So like I'll oftentimes say to a couple who has a 7 in the mix, I'll say, all right, if you need to have a hard conversation with a 7, put an egg timer on for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Too much time.
And then say at the end of the 15, we're going to revisit this hard conversation tomorrow. And, it's better to
that's really good advice.
We actually, not to like goat super plug of the book. So we call this like the secret contracts, which are those agreements you make in a partnership without even speaking them out loud. A lot of times it's around housework, right? So I became the one who did like the cooking and cleaning with that. We didn't even make that, like we didn't verbally say that out loud. But my secret contract with him, he needed to be the golden retriever. He needed to be the happy one.
Yes.
And so that was his agreement. And so you're saying that it's a 7 trait makes such sense, but I needed to give him space to be sad.
Yeah. During the whole thing with my parents, that was when we realized, oh crap, like I've got to grieve. If I don't, I'm going to explode.
Yeah. And so just me acknowledging, and then literally the words we say out loud as my secret contract, your turn to be sad. Because I'm like depressed and anxious most of the time. So not most of the time, but like I get to feel that a lot. He doesn't. So then I'm like, your turn, go, egg timer, be sad. And so that's honestly how that's helped.
Ian, oftentimes you say no emotion is final.
Yeah.
And I think it's a healthy thing for a 7 to give yourself even time when you're going through grief to go, you know what, I'm going to give myself 10, 15 minutes right now just to feel that. No emotion is final. I'll be able to move out of that space. And at another time later, if I need to revisit that, I can. But just to take it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
No emotion is final. I love that.
I want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, HelloFresh. As America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh delivers easy, seasonal recipes and pre-measured ingredients right to your door, contact-free. And I have to say, the meals are delicious. Annie and I have been able to break out of our dinner rut with HelloFresh's variety of weekly options, including easy lunches and add-ons. There's really something for everyone. Anthony, you use HelloFresh too, right?
You know it, Ian. We started using HelloFresh to cut out all the stress of meal prep and planning. And with the new year, they have new flavors. Ian, HelloFresh offers more than 25 weekly recipes with a range of cuisines and ingredients, so there's always something new to try.
What I really like, my friend, is how flexible HelloFresh is too. It's easy to go online and change my delivery days, food preferences, and even skip a week whenever I need to.
Oh man, I love their flexibility. And Ian, you and I have already been talking about this. With the new year, we're looking for new ways to eat well, right? Well, it's so easy to do with their low-cal, carb-smart, vegetarian and pescatarian options every week. Each recipe is packed with fresh produce sourced directly from farmers.
And if your new year is already off to a busy start like mine, then HelloFresh's new Easy Eats options are perfect for you. From oven-ready to 10 to 20-minute meals, their quick and easy meal solutions take the prep and stress out of home cooking. HelloFresh, my friends, is giving our Typology listeners a special offer. Go to, Anthony.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, HelloFresh.com/Typology12 and use code Typology12 for 12 free meals,
including free shipping.
Ooh, I like that. That's HelloFresh.com/TYPOLOGY and the number 12
and use code
TYPOLOGY12 for 12 free meals,
including free shipping. All right, Kim, I'm going to ask you some stuff about once, and then we're going to spend some time really diving deeper into the book. When at some point in your life, have people ever said to you that they feel like you're critical and maybe picayune, possibly at times in your worst moments, judgmental?
I don't know that they would say that to my face, but I feel that. I know that there was like a couple of years ago, obviously pre-COVID, I think Lola was like 11 and she got invited with another family to go to the beach. And so, with another family. And so it was one of those, like, our family is like, so we're so close knit. We don't like really travel separately a lot. So I was doing making sure she had everything. And I texted the mom because she was 11 at the time. I'm like, hey, all of her sunscreen is in this one bag, just making sure she has it. And she's like, oh, don't you worry. I would never, like, I know how, or I would never mess that up for you because I know how you are, or something like that. I was like, oh, okay. And so I guess I'm that way. So I think I'm assuming people think that about me, but probably don't say it to me.
Right. Are you very sensitive to criticism?
Probably. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I know you're asking her. I'm just going to throw this out here because her two superpowers, her things. Enneagrams, I think that's how you see the world, right? But her superpowers, I think she's better at than anyone else, are loyalty and empathy. Like her ability to feel everyone else's feelings is unbelievable. So she feels everything, and so it's impossible not to feel that. Right. I think you handle it really well.
I try to, because I think I am like self-aware, but no, I'm not. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Is being a very good person and appropriate important to you? Like being appropriate meaning doing the right thing. For example, I'll ask another question. Does it bother you when people bend the rules?
I am a super rule follower. I am. I walk in the line. I stand in the line they tell me to go in, even though there's a shorter one right there. This whole vaccine thing, for example, we have friends who know pharmacists who are like, hey, we could probably, when they have extra doses at the end of the day, they can call you. I'm like, no, I need to wait in the line and I need to hit refresh on the website like everybody else. I'm not going to cut in line. Like, I'm not going to do that.
We can be in Target and pick the right line, like the faster line, and we could get to the front and she'll be like, oh, those people were here before us. Maybe they should just cut in front of us. Because like she has a sense of order and a sense of justice, I think is where we are with this, right?
Yes. Yeah. Fairness.
Fairness or justice.
Fairness. Yeah.
Fairness. Okay. So how do you feel when someone in the 15 item or less line has 20 items in their basket?
My armpits start sweating. You need just like you, and me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I have like, I'm questioned, I don't ever pick that line because I don't want anybody to think like, I don't know, she has a dozen eggs. Is that counting? Like, I don't want people to question me. So I'll just go wait in the longer line. Unless I legitimately have one thing. I go wait in the longer line. Yeah.
That is so funny. She's worried about the dozen eggs. Are they going to count 12 in the packet as part of the order?
And then they're like putting it on the internet. Christmas jammies, Mom.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because then the question becomes,
I was like this before.
Yes. And I was going to say, yes, she was like, is this because you have like more of a public focus on you and people kind of recognize you from the videos? I just want to clarify. No, she's been like this since I've met her. And
yes.
And I love her very much.
Yep. Yep. So, and you're very self-controlled, right? Or not?
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
I would think so. I mean, I have.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, that's a compliment.
Well, even like with, I don't love the feeling of, I love a glass of wine, but I start to feel a little like out of control and I don't like that feeling.
I loved that feeling. I was all about out of control.
You need to have 2 glasses of wine and go through the 15.
Oh my gosh. I know. Just like play it fast and loose. Yeah.
Timer.
Yeah.
But you see, this can be so great, man. 1s and 7s together because you correct each other's excesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like you won't let each other get away with some stuff that in other situations, other combinations might, you know? And I think that's fantastic, you know?
I don't think there's another person on the planet that could put up with me, plus bring out the best in me. And Nick, he reminds me that he reminds me of my true self, because I think the Enneagram 1 can take over, but he will bring me back to who I really am under this. And so, yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you. I hope you realize that's all horse shit because you're like a catch.
But it can be really, really great. And it sounds like you are leveraging your superpowers to, you know, put together a really healthy marriage, you know, and that's so important, for all of us to be able to recognize. And I love what you said too, Kim, about, a lot of times when a 7 is doing their work and they stop needing to be the clown at the party, it's like they actually have to work at it. They have to stop being the storyteller, the center of attention, the person who's the entertainer, all that stuff. And they start to get in touch with, I'm trying to work on myself. I don't have to be that guy all the time.
Right, you're right. It is work for him to sit and listen and let people finish sentences without, and not even out of a wanting to be the center of attention, just wanting to hype that person up, like wanting to be their hype man at a story, like finishing the sentence. And so it's work to kind of sit back and listen.
Right. But the problem is that then the 5 other people at the party will say, gee, Pan, are you depressed? You're just not being yourself tonight. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to grow.
Yeah.
And it's so great when that one is around saying, this is okay. This is, you just keep doing your work. And, we're not going to make you be the golden retriever, right? We want you to be more than the golden retriever.
Human golden retriever, by the way. He is my golden retriever.
There you go. So I think that is what we want to see in marriages from an Enneagram perspective. Is it's like, let's teach you. Like, so if he says to you, look, the house doesn't have to look perfect.
I've learned not to say that, Ian.
But it is important, like for a 1, like I have a friend of mine who's a 1, and now she's particularly anxious, but she says to me, like, when I do make dinner, right? It's hard for me to sit down and eat dinner before I've actually cleaned the pans that I made the dinner in, right? And I'm like, wow. And she says, and it's a lot because of anxiety. Like, I just feel anxious as long as they're there. And if you have a 7 around who's like, leave them till tomorrow. We'll get to them tomorrow. It's good for the 1 to practice that discipline.
Well, you also just, like, not to go back to the book, but you just said a couple of magic words of communication when you're talking to people. Instead of saying, we really should start eating dinner now, or I'm hungry, I want to eat dinner. You said, I feel this way when I'm trying to clean this up, instead of you should. And both people said their feelings, and both people were validated by it. And so it worked out that way. I mean, that's the only way that we survive, is by like letting each other know what we're feeling at the time.
Well, I clean as I cook, and then I sit down, and he even said, like, he went to go play tennis last night. He's like, leave some dishes for me. I'm not going to leave dishes for him. He's like, I'll do it when I get back.
But I usually do the dishes.
But he does help out with that. But it's, it's a work in progress.
Hey, Typology Tribe. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for helping us bring you what I hope is great content every week. Now, you all know I'm a big proponent of counseling. Whether you feel like something is interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving certain goals, counseling is a great tool to help identify what those blocks are and then work through them. Yet finding a therapist can sometimes feel intimidating, but not with BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers online counseling at your own time and your own pace. You can schedule secure video or phone sessions plus text and chat with your therapist when it's convenient for you. These are licensed professional counselors who specialize in things like depression, anxiety, stress, relationships, LGBT matters, trauma, and grief. BetterHelp has counselors available worldwide and have over 3,000 U.S. licensed therapists across all 50 states. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And get this, if you're not satisfied with your counselor for any reason, you can request a new one at any time at no additional cost. Best of all, it's a truly affordable option. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp.com/typologypodcast. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com typology podcast. TYPOLOGYPODCAST. All right, let's jump into this really great book. Everybody fights, so why not get better at it? Tell me again, what motivated you to write this book?
We fought, and we weren't. The fights weren't making us any better. The fights were and they were cycling. They were the same fights over and over again that we found ourselves getting in. And we went to counseling, and it was a guy who also happened to be our pastor at our church who specializes in marriage workshops. And he started giving us some tips and tools, just like a little taste. And then we liked it. We wanted more. And then we realized, oh my gosh, we could have a great freaking marriage. And if we could, it would be kind of cool to tell people about it. And then we realized that the center of all of it were these fights where instead of, being caught in the same cycle, you could grow and learn about each other's vulnerabilities and what's important to them. And that was kind of when we got started.
Yeah. And listen, we have this weird platform, right? And it's a lot of jazz hands and song and dance. So this may be a little unexpected, right? This isn't the song and dance that we're normally that we normally do. So I have no idea what the response to this book is going to be, but I wouldn't want to write a book of who cares about where we our backstory and blah, blah, blah and happy ending. No, when people see our videos, we do look very happy because we are happy, but this is how we got there.
Yeah. We worked on it.
And the way that my brain works is if I have something great, whether it's a water bottle or something, I want to tell you about it because I want to help you. So,
yes.
This worked. And when people, even we posted something today, oh, you guys are hashtag couple goals. No, we're not.
Mm-mm.
No, we're not. But we do the work. And as a child of divorce, it was important for me that I wasn't even going to start a partnership without a strong foundation. And then once we hit a rough spot, I certainly wasn't going to hit the highway. We weren't going to go there. So I felt Penn uses this analogy in the book, your car. You take it for an oil change and you get the tires rotated and you do all this maintenance on the stupid car. But rarely do people do that sort of work on their marriage. They're not putting in that just maintenance work. So is this a book for people that have been, torn apart by infidelity? Probably not. This is a book for the 50% of the marriages that are going to stay together, right? Because 50%-ish stay together. But are those 50% really great and dynamic and happy? Probably not. We weren't, but now we really are, I can say honestly. So that's why we wanted to write it.
That's fantastic. It sounds like what you're doing is there are some books that are designed to take people from low functioning to functioning, right? It's a rescue book.
Yeah.
And then there are other books that are I want to take you from functioning to high functioning.
Right.
And that sounds like what you're trying to do in this book.
We researched marriage books, and they're all it's a guy staring out a window,
and
like a drug rehab ad.
Yeah, and it's called The Final Straw or something, and we're oh God, so how are we going to differentiate ourselves from them? Because I think there's a stigma when it comes to relationship books that's where you have to be. You
have to be on the brink of disaster. No.
So from the cover of the book to any of the interviews that we're doing, we're trying to show people that this is not that. It's fun. You'll laugh when you read it. You'll probably say, oh, that's me. I mean, there is plenty of substance because we did a fair amount of research and we did keep the important stuff in there, but you're 100% right. We want this to go functioning to high functioning. In fact, I'm totally stealing that for our next interview.
Future interviews. We're going to go functioning to high functioning.
No, I'm serious. That's a really good succinct way to say that. So thank you. We're going to.
You're welcome. Bill is on the way. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Send it
all right. You've got this book that I think is going to be very, very helpful to lots of people. But I want to know, is this your first book, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Great adventure ahead. So here's one of the things I learned in writing books. People go into Barnes & Noble and they take the book off the shelf. And the unconscious question they're all asking is, what's in it for me? What am I going to learn if I read this? Right? So I'm your consumer. What am I going to learn if I read this book?
if I have 20 seconds to answer it, you're going to learn some simple magic words that you can say in a fight that will get it pointed in the right direction so that you can learn more about your partner and you can grow together with them.
Give me the 5 magic words, just fast.
I don't know if there are 5, but there are many.
There are a bunch. I hear you. Instead of you should, saying I feel.
So what I hear you saying is.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of saying I always, you should say I feel. I mean, the biggest one is tell me more.
Tell me more. And that has been working great with our kids. And so, by the way, a lot of these, we kind of like have helpful hints. And really, what I wanted was scripts, basically, of what I can say. And when I went to Christopher, and we used him in the book, like our marriage coach in the book. I'm like, just tell me exactly what to say to get out
That's
of it. That's
very one-ish what you're just saying right there. Just tell me exactly what to say. Give me a script.
Thank God she did that, because I think that's the best part of the book.
And so there are scripts and sentences of how to, not to get out of a fight, but how to like advance it.
One of them is that sucks.
That sucks.
But not like, that sucks, but like, oh man,
I understand.
That sucks.
I understand. That must be really hard.
Yeah, that's another good one.
And so instead of Penn was always trying to fix it and fix me, but now he gets to like, I hear you. I hear you. That sounds really hard. And that goes a long way.
I used to always say like, you should do this because I want to fix it. And no.
Should is a big word for once.
I'm trying to take it out of my vocabulary.
It is.
Yeah.
Should, ought, and must are big words for once.
Yeah.
And that is part of their journey, is learning to not should on themselves or others.
She's been shitting all over herself.
I've been shitting all over.
She's been full of should for a long time, but like it's
the kids. I mean, we need to have a whole separate session on.
That's bullshit.
Do this all day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to diving deep. My wife, I'm a therapist, and my wife and I, for example, with our kids, we've learned some magic words. I know this is more in the parenting realm, but it can work too in marriages. Like, we learn with our kids, like when they'd say, well, why can't I? And we go, because we're not comfortable with it. So the whole idea of just saying, I'm not comfortable. Because sometimes you don't need to defend anything. You don't need to litigate anything. It's just, I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah, that's in line with like a subjective feeling, which is you can't argue a subjective feeling. It's what you're feeling. And if you're not feeling comfortable with it, that's genius. Speaking of which, hey, Penn Charles, I'm not comfortable with you standing there during our interview. I'm actually comfortable. Come in and say hello.
You're fine.
But I do like the fact that you have a golden retriever back there somewhere. I think I saw a golden retriever.
There is a golden retriever back there.
That's
yes.
What I was.
Oh, you want to see Sunny? Oh,
yeah. Okay, go back and pet Sunny.
You're good.
All right. Guys, this wonderful book, Everybody Fights, So Why Not Get Better at It? It's out March 30th. It's on W Publishing Group. People can get it on Amazon. They can go to their favorite bookseller, wherever fine books are sold. And
fine
books are sold. And I would encourage people to buy it and read it, because I want you to keep in mind, if you're an Enneagram fan, I want you to read it like through the lens of the Enneagram, and just keep in mind that Penn is a 7, Kim is a 1, and see if you're seeing the dynamic of a healthy 7-1 combination happening. And you know what? I would say to you two, if you haven't read my book, The Road Back to You, or any other kind of Enneagram books, here's what I want you to do. I want you to read The Road Back to You. I know you have tons of time. And then I want to have you back on.
Okay.
I'm ordering it right now.
We both have to read it, right? I feel like that's because you're going to read it. My reading is
listen to it or something like that. Is it on Audible?
It is on Audible,
but
he can do that.
I can do that.
I will read it. He will listen.
And the reason is I think it's going to be a lot of aha moments for you.
Oh, yeah.
I really do.
Hit us with a bunch of them.
Yeah, no, I think it's really going to have some, and I think you might get excited about the potential it has for you to, just as another data point or pool of wisdom that you can bring to the conversation around marriage. Because I don't know, man, as far as tools go for working on marriage, I just don't know a better one. You know what I mean? Like in terms of a system, right? Yeah.
I'm fascinated with any tool, any typing, any tool that can that help us be better at being married, at marriaging, and at parenting.
Hi.
Well, everybody, listen, how else do people tell people where they get in touch with you on YouTube and Instagram and all those type of places?
Yeah. So our website is theholdernessfamily.com. On Facebook, we're the Holderness Family. On Twitter, we're the Holderness Family.
Actually, not on Twitter. But anyway.
What are we on Twitter?
We're not really big on Twitter. Instagram. And it, as Penn likes to say, it's wilderness, but with a hoe.
Yeah,
so
that's how you spell it.
That's how you spell it. So find us. So that's how you
We got to end on that, man.
Yeah.
Cut.
Thank you, Holderness. This is
Thank you,
Wilderness
guys. Thanks
with a
for
hoe.
teaching this. That was so much fun.
Yes.
Oh, it was our pleasure. And listen, all of you folks, part of our typology tribe, remember, be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Until next time.